I the jerk for yelling at my mother and running? I am a 17-year-old female studying to become a doctor, as per my mother's wish. I also get high grades, but recently my grades started to falter. I became concerned that my mother would hear about the recent exam I had with a lower grade. I did not want to let her down, so I lied to her about it being graded late. I decided to call a friend, whom I will call Y, and inform them that I would not be able to work with the group for a while. Y and I work in a music group with 2 others, whom I will call A and S. I know they are worried since they tried reaching out a few times. I just told them I needed to study for my grades to go up again and to not alert my mother about work since she is not a huge fan of it. It did not take long for A to call me up again to hang out, work, so I could relax, as I was having a hard time focusing on my studies. I did end up joining Discord with the rest of the group, who were shocked except for A. We did end up working, and the background noise of the group helped me to relax a bit. They asked me to join the next day. I said I probably could not, so Is would just direct message me when the music video was up. All seemed to be fine until my mother asked me about my exam. I just said the same thing, only for her to say that she went to my school to ask for it. I confessed about how I was afraid of her response. She then said I would be rid of my phone because it was a distraction to my studies. I refused to give it to her, but she tried to grab my phone and it flew into my aquarium. A few days later, A and S found me at the park, asking me what happened to me, obviously worried since I never got to respond to the messages they sent. I told them what happened and S snapped and told me to stand up for myself. I later got home to find my mother cooking, waiting for me to ask me something. I asked first to let me work with the group, and assured her I would make sure my grades would go up. She said that I should not let any other distractions keep me from my studies, adding how the other kids around me were working hard with good grades while mine were going down. I said I did not want to be a doctor. Unfortunately, I was given a very disappointed look from her, which scared me. She then asked if I was doing this for my friends, not her happiness. I retorted and yelled about how I felt. She looked even more disappointed. I even wanted to take back everything I said until I remembered what I said. Run away when everything feels like too much. I could not take it anymore, so I just ran. I ended up at Y's front door. I knocked, and Y showed up. I just launched myself at them crying. I do not know for how long, but I know Yi was trying to comfort me, but I am scared. What do I do now? I am now currently in Yi's house typing all of this, lost about what to do next. My mother is looking for me to bring me home. I do not know how my father will react to this since he is at work, and I still have to attend classes on Monday. Am I the antagonist for yelling at my mother and running away? You are not the cause of this issue. It's not your job to make your mother happy by becoming a doctor. If you don't want to be a doctor, don't be a doctor. Parents who guilt their kids into specific careers to make themselves happy are always the assholes. Continually remind her that making her happy is not your job. Am I the jerk for ignoring my stepfather and mother at dinner? I, a 21-year-old female, recently went out with my family to have dinner at a public restaurant. I was raised by my grandparents after my mother gave birth to me at 18 and left me with them. Years later, she met a man whom my grandparents dislike for his bad behavior. She eventually married him and had my half-sister, a 14-year-old female whom I adore. During dinner, I did not speak to them at all because at the last dinner, they decided to insult me. They said I was overweight and that I had become too arrogant just because my grandparents raised me. My stepfather then insulted my grandparents by saying that I should never have been brought up by them because they raised me poorly. They praised my little sister for being the best since she does sports, while my grandparents raised me to focus academically. They insult me by telling me the course of study I chose, architecture, was useless. They called me arrogant because of it. I love my course and I love studying it, so it really hurt that they would insult me just because my grandparents supported me in doing what I like. My grandparents also dislike my stepfather because of his rude behavior towards them. My stepfather insulting the people who raised me also hurt because my grandparents not only support them financially, but also gave them jobs in their businesses. They pay them a generous salary and even cover their rent while they do nothing but sit around on the job. With this in mind, I decided to stay quiet and ignore them because if I did not, I might have said something that would make them angrier. They took me aside to complain and forced me to apologize for ignoring them and creating a gap. They said if I did not apologize, I would be considered prideful and arrogant. They even threatened that I would not be able to see my half-sister anymore because I am a bad influence. I do not want to be the one to break familial ties with them. I tolerate my mother and stepfather because I love my half-sister. I also love my grandparents, and they do not deserve to be insulted. Was I rude for ignoring them just because I did not want to make a scene in public? Or should I have done something different? You handled things appropriately. Stop putting yourself in situations where people bully you and then ask you to apologize. Ignoring them might seem rude, but it was your only safe choice given how hurt you were the last time. You deserve to spend time with people who respect and appreciate you. Am I the jerk for hiding food from my so-called roommate? I am a 30-year-old female who is pregnant and living with my 21-year-old sister and her 21-year-old boyfriend. I am struggling to make ends meet. I work at a dollar store and do not get paid more than $200 weekly. I almost have enough saved for my own apartment before the baby comes. My sister's boyfriend's father lives here as well. I moved here in May, and the agreement was for all 4 of us to split the rent and bills. We all do our job and pay our part, except for her boyfriend's father. My sister and I always have to pick up his slack, which is why I still do not have anything for this baby yet, and I am due in November. I recently discovered his secret. He has a drug problem. This explains why he wakes up at 6 a.m. to get on the freeway and panhandle and does not come back until 10 p.m. He makes at least $20 to $100 a day and lies saying he never gets paid. I saw a sketchy-looking guy in a black truck pull up to this house and put something in the mailbox. I went outside to check the mailbox, and it was something brown and powder-like. I did not touch it because it was inside an envelope. A few minutes later, after I witnessed that, he went outside for a few seconds and came back in, so I immediately knew what was going on. I told my sister what happened, and she immediately dismissed it. She has never been around drugs before, so of course that would be her response. I know what they look like because my mother was heavily addicted to them during my childhood. I always come home and expect to eat things that I have been craving at work all day, only to find out that he has eaten it all. I tell my coworkers and they think I am being petty about it. I am not. Times are extremely hard for me and food prices have gone up. Maybe I am being harsh, but I have no sympathy for a 41-year-old man who spends all his money on drugs but has to steal food from a pregnant woman or rely on his son and his son's girlfriend to feed him. I literally have to hide food, and sometimes he still finds it. My sister ordered a mini refrigerator from Amazon to keep in their room because he does the same thing to her. It must be nice. I do not even have a room in this house. I sleep on the couch. I honestly feel like he needs to be the one sleeping on the couch since he is not paying any bills, but that is a story for later. He was here before I moved in, so I will let that one slide. I just want him to stop stealing food from me. You did nothing to deserve criticism. That is definitely not a safe environment for your baby. Living with an addict who is using your property for drug deals is a huge red flag. It's crucial to find a way out of there ASAP, even though it may be tough in this economy. Staying could lead to severe consequences, including involvement from CPS. Am I the jerk for my reaction to my sister's crush? My sister, who is 23 years old, has always had an interest in older men. Every celebrity crush she has is a man around 40 to 50 years old, and besides the occasional joke, I never have a problem with it or discourage her from those feelings. Again, I will make jokes, and us mutually making fun of each other's bad taste is a running bit. Yesterday, my sister revealed to me that she has a crush on a coworker of hers. No relationship has been pursued, but she feels very intensely for him. She has had this crush for over a year, it fizzled out, and now it is back in full swing. I was happy and supportive of her at first, and wanted to hear all about it until she revealed the man is 14 years older than her. My sister is 23 years old and naive. When she was describing her crush, she said that she believes he probably likes her back since he is single, stares at her, and makes excuses to swing by her office. When I asked about his personality, she said he is kind of a jerk and moody, and that her work best friend described him as a borderline psychopath. When I asked about him being single, she said he had asked out 2 other girls at work who both rejected him. When I asked her if he was kind, she muttered and said something like, "He's nice to me. I've always been overprotective of the people in my life." This is a flaw I recognize, and I'm trying to rein in those emotions. But when I heard about this man, red flags were raised. I know this is just a crush, and I do not think my sister should be ashamed of her preferences in any way. I also have no clue if this man really is interested, but if he is, I find that extremely weird. Why would a 37-year-old want anything to do with a 23-year-old? I am under the impression that those are 2 completely different mindsets and avenues of life. I have heard horror stories about younger women being pursued by older men and getting stuck in toxic relationships. After she told me, I let everything process and debated telling her my true feelings or feigning happiness. I could tell that after she revealed his age, she was disappointed in how uncomfortable I was by it. She even asked me, "Did you really expect anything better from me?" Which broke my heart when I heard it. I did not know what to say, so we went on with our evening. Later, I decided to send a message expressing my happiness over her, telling me her feelings, but also expressing the uncomfortable aspects of this man, reciprocating her feelings. I made it clear she does not have to listen to me, just hear me out. I sent it last night, and this morning has been radio silence. I know she is angry with me. Should I have just kept in my lane and not been open about my mixed feelings on the subject? I am aware my sister is an adult capable of making her own decisions, but I also know my sister, and while I love her, she is trusting of questionable people. We are super close, and I would not want this to come between us, but I am so worried. Am I the antagonist and blowing this out of proportion? Your actions were justified. It's natural to want what is best for our family, and sometimes we are blind to our own bad choices. The issue is that your sister is really insecure and thinks this is the only guy she deserves. It's okay for her to be mad too. It's hard to hear that type of feedback, but at the end of the day, the goal is for her to be happy and loved. Hopefully, she'll see it when she's done being mad. Am I the jerk for trying to comfort my coworker but ending up making them upset? The other day, I, a 23-year-old female, was chatting with my coworker, a 26-year-old male. One topic led to another, our conversation got deeper, and then he shared something very personal with me. He said that when he was 20 years old, he had a car accident which left him paraplegic for a couple of months. He was afraid he couldn't ever walk again and was severely depressed. This was his first time opening up about this. I was surprised and felt deeply for him, and I wanted to show him my sympathies. I said, "I'm so sorry. It must have been so hard for you. I mean, going through something like that, especially when you were already struggling so much. I can't even imagine what it felt like. It must be horrible, but I'm glad you are recovered now." I stroked his shoulder and told him I was proud of him. He thanked me but asked what I meant by "when you are already struggling so much." I was taken aback by his question. For context, he is deaf, so obviously that was what I meant by struggling so much. I told him I didn't mean anything bad. I just wanted to empathize with him and how hard going through that must have been for him as a deaf person. He said he's not hearing impaired, he's deaf. It's not a bad word and I can just say that. He doesn't view his deafness as something bad. He was born this way and is very proud of it. Being deaf didn't make that accident any harder to go through than it would have been. In response, I just said, "Oh, okay, I see." I could tell he was waiting for an apology because he seemed visibly upset, and the conversation just ended there, so I excused myself shortly after. I don't think I had to apologize for what I said. I don't want to sound judgmental, but I feel like he was being way too sensitive. He fixated on such a small thing I said and scolded me for it when all I was doing was trying to comfort him. To be honest, all that "I'm so proud" talk came across a little performative to me, especially with him having cochlear implants. No shade, but it felt hypocritical. He was acting cold towards me since that day, and yesterday he finally told me he thinks I behaved inappropriately and was rude towards him, which I find confusing because I felt like he was the one being rude to me. Am I the asshole? You have some responsibility here. Yeah, you made an offensive and ableist comment and didn't apologize. You presumed that he sees being deaf as a struggle, which was not only rude, but also ignorant. Deaf people have different challenges, but their day-to-day lives are not a struggle. This can be repaired with a sincere apology acknowledging the assumption made about his experience. Am I the jerk for having second thoughts? I am, 56 years old, wondering if my decision was the best one. For years, it has always been joked about that one day my mother would move in with my husband and me. That day came on June 26th, 2024. Everything has been challenging from day one. Our daughter lived with us until a little over a year ago. When we moved from one state to another, she decided to stay behind and get her own place due to loving her job. My husband is retired and I work remotely, so moving was exciting. I finally get to live at the beach. With our daughter staying behind, we had an extra bedroom in our new home. Then my mother moved in. While helping her set up her bedroom, she asked my husband to hang some pictures for her. My husband is very meticulous when doing any project. He is the type to measure twice to ensure it is perfect. She was standing there watching him and kept telling him, "That's not straight." After hearing this several times, he went and grabbed a level to show her everything was indeed straight and exactly where she asked him to hang it. Every day is becoming a challenge for us. She gets up in the morning, gets her coffee, sits down to read her paper and does crossword puzzles. My husband drives to the gas station every morning to get the paper for her because we do not live in an area where it is delivered. She has no motivation to do her laundry, dust, vacuum her room, or anything outside her normal routine mentioned above. Her personal hygiene routine is non-existent. She has gone 8 days without showering or bathing. She speaks very negatively about everything. She said something to my husband about one of our neighbors the other day. My husband told her, "We have made friends with our neighbors and don't speak about them like that." She got angry and stormed off to her room. We are animal lovers and have 3 dogs. If the dogs do not come to her when she calls, she tells them they are jerks. There is a stray cat in the neighborhood that had 2 kittens. They chose to seek shelter under our house. We took some food out to them one day and she told us, "You need to get rid of them." This turned into a major argument. I just do not know what to do at this point. If I say anything she does not agree with, she gets angry and walks off. I told my husband the other day that it is getting so bad I am worried I am going to have a heart attack from the stress. I have tried talking with my brother and sister about what is going on, and it gets me nowhere. Am I the asshole for thinking we should have never agreed to let her move in with us? You did nothing improper. Your mom is still a functioning adult and should take care of herself, not relying on you as her maid or at-home nurse. It's important to sit down with her and have an adult conversation about the living arrangements, making it clear that if she wants to stay, she needs to meet certain terms like maintaining her hygiene and respecting the household rules. Explain gently but firmly that if she cannot agree, it may be necessary to explore other options for her living arrangements. Living with family is tough, but setting boundaries is essential for a stress-free and enjoyable living space for everyone involved. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.